Hello everyone, and welcome to the third and final tutorial before all of you can consider yourself beginner Photoshoppers. This will be the last demo before the first Photoshop test, so let's get right into things. We have plenty of tools to learn. The specific tools to learn this time are going to be the Marquee, other words known as the Shape Select tool, the Lasso Tool, deselect, inverse, rasterizing layers, quick selection tool, magic wand tool, adjusting the tolerance, and duplicating layers. Okay, so we have plenty of tools to get into, so let's get right to it. First and foremost is the shape selection tool. So let me start out by saying up here in your tools palette off to the left, these first couple of selections or tools are your selection tools. Okay, so whenever I say the Marquee tool or the shape selection tool, I mean this second option right here. Now, if you're still wondering how I get that pop-out menu or that fly-out menu, all I do is click and hold, and then other options fly out. So yours probably looks like a rectangle. If you click and hold, you can also select in the shape of a circle. This would be good if I wanted to keep maybe parts of the inside photo here or anything of the such, and that is ultimately what I will be showing you here today. I will be showing you how to edit photos, okay? So thank you again, Pixabay, for allowing us to use this seal photo. Now we will finally get to editing the photo as to abide by copyright laws. So first and foremost, all right, the shape selection tool. Let me go ahead and get into the rectangle shape selection tool. This would be good if you wanted to size down any photo or crop out any type of photo. So let's take, for instance, our little seals in the bottom here. I'm going to go ahead and crop out all of the extra areas that do not have seals around the border if you want to get rid of that extra border of the photo that we don't necessarily need. So let's go ahead into that. I want to make sure again that I have the correct layer selected, so be sure that you do that right now. Pause the video if you have to. And I am just click holding and dragging from the top left-hand corner down, making sure that I trap all of my seal inside of there, all of the seals. There we go. So you can see that these dancing lines appear. That is to show you that you have a selection. I saw a couple of you having some issues with this on the last tutorial when we tried to build squares. If you saw these dancing lines, that means you have an area selected. So we are actually selecting the little pixels here. So we have selected all those pixels inside of that box, and it's quite a lot. So one thing that I'll start off by saying is if you want to edit your photo, oftentimes you're trying to get rid of an edge, or in this case, the edge of the photo. So you're going to hit delete on your keyboard. It's located right above your arrow keys. So if I hit delete, you'll probably get this error message. All right, could not complete your request because the smart object is not directly editable. That's basically saying this object is locked, okay? We cannot edit it, so we cannot delete a portion. So what a smart object is a smart object is basically how Photoshop identifies a picture that previously existed that you dragged in. So for instance, these seal photos. These seal photos we dragged in from the internet. They look great. They're all complete. So Photoshop's wondering, okay, you probably don't want to edit these, but we do. So if we look in our layers panel, you will notice that there are these tiny little paper looking icons in each of my layers that have the seal pictures on them. That means that they are smart objects. We cannot edit them. They are stock photos. So what we will have to do is actually right-click on the words of each layer. If you right-click on the picture, you won't get the correct right-click menu. So I right-click on the words of the layer, and I go up to the fancy word rasterize layer. Basically what we're doing is we're taking this whole smart object picture and breaking it up into its information. So now rather than viewing it as one whole picture, now it is viewed as just a collection of pixels. Great. All right. So don't hit delete with me. I'm just going to do this to show you what happens. But if I were to hit delete right now, since I have selected the inside here, everything that I want to keep, it's going to delete my selection. So I hit delete. Oh no, my seals. I selected them. I hit delete. Go figure, it deletes my selection. So I'm going to go ahead and undo. If you forget how to do that, remember it's just Control, Alt, and then Z as in zebra. So what we have to do is we actually have to inverse this selection, okay? So inversing the selection is simple. All you need to do is go up to Select, and then there is your option of inverse, but there is also your option of deselect, okay? So if you, for some whatever reason, mess up your selection, what you can do is just hit deselect, and you can see my box goes away here, and I can kind of restart in case I trace the wrong box. All right, there we go. So for the hotkeys command, the hotkey command for deselect, if I go back up to select, it will show you is Control D. The inverse is pressing and holding Shift, Control, and I. Okay, so let me go ahead and select the inverse as promised earlier. And again, the inverse just selects the opposite. So before I had the seal selected, now I have everything around the seal selected. So if I wanted to get rid of that border, I hit delete, and that's how it happens, okay? So that is how you delete something in a shape. Just be sure you have the correct thing selected. The same thing would happen. Let me go ahead and deselect, Control D, get rid of those dancing lines. The same thing would be said if I wanted to use my elliptical or circle Marquee Tool, my circle selection tool. So you can see that will just simply make a circle if I wanted somewhat of an oval shaped photo or anything of the such. But again, just be sure you have the correct thing selected, otherwise you'll be deleting the portion of the photo that you want to keep. Okay, so that is the shape selection tool. Now if you want really weird shapes, okay, kind of out of the norm, freehand if you will, let's go back to our selection tools up top here, and we're going to start moving down to this next one, the Lasso tool. You can even see if I hit the letter L, that is how I can easily activate it. But I'm just going to click on it for now. So this is the Lasso tool. It looks like a little cowboy lasso. The Lasso tool is good for freehand selecting. So what exactly do I mean by that? Well, rather than having a perfect circle every time, if I just, for instance, wanted to steal this seal and I don't really care about the border, or maybe I want to trap these seals and cut them out in the shape of a heart, if I go very slowly and click, hold, and drag, you can see I'm actually creating a line here. I'm going to go ahead and create a very wide heart, and then come on down to the bottom, bring the heart to the tip. Go back up on the other side. Great. And you're probably going to have some difficulty with this on your first try. I know mine's not perfect, but nobody's perfect. All right. So you can see I ended where I started. That's how you create a full loop. And the Lasso tool is ultimately how you will create a nice, unique shape selection. Okay? So again, just be sure you have the correct thing selected. If I were to hit delete right now, oh, I have to have the correct layer selected. So be sure that you're on this big picture one, okay, right here. And it is a smart object, so if I try to delete it, I get that error message again. So I'm going to have to right-click on the name in that layer and go up to Rasterize Layer. And I still need to make sure that I have the correct thing selected. So remember, I can go up to Select and select the inverse. And now when I delete, it deletes everything else that I did not have selected before. Cool. So that is how you can create unique shapes or edit photos accordingly. There's still a couple of tools here. Let me go back one step and use Control D to deselect. All right. So far I've showed you the shape selection tool, otherwise known as the Marquee tools, the Lasso tool, deselect, inverse, rasterizing layers. Come to look at our list, we're already halfway done, and it's only been 10 minutes. Good. This one's a lot quicker than other videos. Okay? Let's get a little bit further into the Lasso tools. So the other Lasso tools are the Polygonal Lasso tool and the Magnetic Lasso tool. Polygonal Lasso tool is great if you want boxy sides, okay? So if I really wanted to create kind of like this really jagged heart, the Polygonal Lasso tool is used to create straight lines. Just be sure that you always end wherever you started. Okay, so you can see I'm working my way around to my starting point, and whenever I hover over my starting point, there's that little tiny circle that appears next to my icon. That means that this will now be a closed shape if I do my final click. And that is just what happened. Once again, just be sure that you have the correct thing selected. All right. You're probably always going to have to remember to inverse your selection. Bam. Okay, cool. A nice cube heart. So let me go ahead and deselect everything again. Boom. There we go. Okay, next thing. So the next lasso tool on the list here is the magnetic lasso tool. This is where the selection tools get a little bit smarter. So just to show you this, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Remember, Control plus to zoom in, just like that. Great, and I'm just scrolling on my mouse, on my computer mouse here in order to select it. So the magnetic lasso tool actually is a smart selection tool. It picks up the differences in the pixels. So let me start trying to cut out this specific seal. So if I click and hold on the corner, you'll notice that it creates points for me. And although I'm going pretty close to the edge here, it is actually picking up the pixel difference. Let me just try to go off of the curve just a little bit. You see how the line is just slightly snapping to the specific edge of the seal? That is because the magnetic lasso tool picks up the difference in color of the pixels and then tries to trace it accordingly. So even though if I'm a little bit off here, all right, it will still keep tracing the seal. My best advice for you is go as slow as possible, just so that you get that perfect edge. But you can see how if you go a little bit faster here, the magnetic lasso tool makes up for any human error. It kind of snaps it. You can especially see it right there, how that little stream of string around the magnetic lasso tool just snaps to the edge of the seal, even though I'm not anywhere near it. So you could go all the way around this seal. We don't have time for that, but that would be exactly, let me just cut it off right here, so I'll just go across his body and down. So you can see, even though I'm going pretty quick here, it's actually getting pretty accurately around this seal's body here. I'm just going to keep on going. Maybe I will just go around it. And now I'm back at the beginning. There's that little circle next to my icon again saying this will be a complete shape. So now when I release, boom. Easy as that. I have traced this seal perfectly. So let me go ahead and inverse my selection to delete everything else. Now when I hit delete, everything has been deleted except for that seal. Very quick, very easy, pretty precise when it comes down to it, but easy enough. Okay, cool. So that would be how you, I went back and deselected, that would be how you use the magnetic lasso tool. Let's get into the other smart tools. And these are the next selection tool down here at the next slot down. These are the quick selection tool and magic wand tools. The quick selection tool is a bit tricky, so we'll get into that soon enough. Let's start with the magic wand tool just because it's a pretty simple concept. The magic wand tool, wherever you click on your picture, if I were to zoom in enough, wherever you would click would actually be a specific pixel, okay? So for instance, I'm hovering over this specific pixel. You can see it's kind of a grayish beige pixel, rather a cool shade. So what the magic wand tool does is if I click on that specific color of the pixel, it will select the same color all around it according to, and here's the special word, tolerance. So to better show you this, let me try to get this started. So I'm still hovering over that specific area, and let me go ahead and click. All right, so now what this has done is I selected a gray beige color somewhere around here. It has selected all the other gray beige that was touching that specific pixel, or for instance, if the next pixel over was a gray beige, it would select the next one over, the next one over. And you can see it kind of stopped as soon as the pixels started to get darker. That is because my tolerance is set at 32. What that means is that if I click on a certain shade, it will select 32 different shades in either direction, whether it be darker or lighter, of that same colored pixel. So although I just clicked on one shade, you can see if I zoom in here, there are a lot of shades that are different. So right up here, you can especially see it's especially brown, and up here, or down here, it's especially gray. So that is the idea of the magic wand tool. You select a specific color, and it will select all the same shade of that specific color, all the same tint of that specific color, according to whatever tolerance you have. So for instance, if you have a white photo and you want to get rid of all of the white right away, let me deselect here. So let's say I want to get rid of the black eyes here. Same thing for white photos, just pretend the black is white. All right, I can click on that seal's eye and it will select that specific color. And then if I hit delete, boom, easy enough, easy selection, it's gone. What you will find is that sometimes whenever you select white, it might go into your image. That is because some of your image may be another tint, maybe a little bit grayer, but still kind of the same shade. Okay, so let me try to find an example here. If I try to click on, if I'm trying to get rid of all of this gray back of this seal here, if I try to click on that, it accidentally selected some of its flippers down here. Okay, what if I just wanted that specific shade gone? So let me deselect there. If you adjust your tolerance to 1, that means it will only select one shade. So for instance, if I try that same spot where I clicked, you can see it's only selecting that 1 pixel, because chances are, if I zoom in, that 1 pixel is not the same exact shade, 1 tolerance, as some around it. Okay? So it's looking, I have, yep. It looks like I probably clicked on this darker gray pixel here, and it went 1 shade darker, 1 shade lighter. That is the power of tolerance. If you want to select more shades or more tints, lighter or darker, you adjust the tolerance higher. If you want to select less, so maybe you only want 1 color, stick around 1, maybe even 0, okay? Let me go ahead and deselect that, get rid of those dancing lines. Cool. All right, so as I said, I would get into the quick selection tool. This is the last tool we'll go over. We're already at 16 minutes here, and I want everybody able to do their exit tickets for today. So, quick selection tool. Another smart tool, in my opinion, it's my favorite. I love it, okay? The quick selection tool can select and deselect at the same time. So if you'll notice, right up in the top, we have this option just like our brush tool. The little black dot with the number below it and the arrow. This is how you can adjust your brush size. So you can see I can take my size, scroll, and scroll it all the way to the right. And now I got a huge area to select with, okay? So just like the brush tool, that circle represents the area that it's going to affect. So for instance, if I just click, you can see it has selected a whole huge area, all right? Let me deselect real quick just to show you the example. If you'll notice, I have a little tiny plus inside of this icon, all right? That is because right now I have plus selected. This is the quick selection, and then right next to this little quick selection icon, there is the quick deselection icon. This one has the little minus. You can see, even if you hover over it, subtract from selection. So let me show you what I mean. If I want to cut out, I'm going to do these little photos down here in the bottom. There we go. All right, and all I'm doing to do scroll side to side is pressing and holding control and using my mouth scroll. So that's how you can scroll side to side. Release it to do up and down, obviously. So I'm going to make sure I have the correct layer selected. Be sure to do that. All right, and let me size down my selection brush here. Perfect. So I have the little plus, all right, the quick selection tool active, the plus one. And I click, hold, and drag and go over just a bit, and it has already selected one of my seals. I am just selecting what I want to delete. So I want to delete everything except for these seals. Maybe I'll make a nice border of seals going down the bottom here. So I am going to switch over to my quick deselect. And this will allow me to deselect that baby seal, okay? Good. And all I'm doing is click, holding, and dragging and being very careful on what part I hover over. Now, it will get more and more accurate and more precise as you go through. So you can see I went down, okay, went around that seal. It accidentally selected that whole seal. That's okay. We can go back and deselect it then. Great. So now I'm going to use my quick deselect. And to show you how it gets more accurate as time goes on, I am going to click, hold, and drag yet again over top of what I want to keep. There we go. And let's say I accidentally go a little off. Oh, perfect example. I accidentally selected a part of this rock in the background. I didn't want to do that. So all I can do is just switch back to my quick selection tool, the plus, all right? And now I am selecting what I want to keep or what I want to delete, all right? So if you learn one phrase from everything with the quick selection tool, it's use plus to select what you want to delete, use the minus to deselect so that you keep, all right? Plus delete, minus keep. It's kind of opposites, but try and remember that, all right? So now that I have used my careful hand here, clicked, held, and dragged over the correct areas, remember I used the plus around the sides because I'm deleting everything else, and the minus on the seals. So this way, when I hit delete, boom, I got my seals. All right, nice. Let me go ahead and get rid of this rock. Plus is delete, so I have the plus active. I'm going right in between those two seals, deleting it, and getting this rock right behind this little seal's back flipper. Great. Good. All right, and I'll get rid of those little shadows here. There's one, and there's two. Great. All right, so I'm going to hit my Control D to deselect. All right, there's my seals looking fresh. What I will show you now, this is the last thing on our list that we have to go over. You can see we've gone over everything else. Shape select, lasso, deselect, inverse, how to rasterize the layers by right-clicking, quick selection tool, magic wand tool, tolerance. There's last but not least duplicating layers. And this is simple enough as my last step before I let you go. Just go ahead and right-click on the layer, go up to duplicate layer. All right. When you click on that, it will make a copy. You can name it, just say organized. I'm just going to keep this as small left lower copy and click OK. It will create another layer, but it may not look like anything has happened. Activate your move tool, and that is because they are over top of one another. Now when I click, hold, and drag, you can see I have another copy. And so what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to zoom out, make a couple copies of this, maybe size them down, and I'm going to make a border of seals. Oh boy, look at that. So many seals, so little time. Cool. And let me just center these. If you want to keep them in line with each other, you can press and hold Shift on your keyboard as you move them, and that will lock them into straight up and down and side to side. That way there's no chance of you moving them diagonally, getting them offline with each other. But that's going to be our final project for right now. So you can see we've got a pretty cool graphic design here. We've got some repetition, some space, some good color scheme going. I'm going to go ahead and file save as tutorial 3 in this case. And save it onto my drive. And we are done. So please be sure to do the exit ticket for today, Photoshop tutorial 3. And prepare yourself, maybe do a little review, maybe do yourself a one-day challenge, and get ready for the test tomorrow. Thank you.